Hey guys, Matt here with Reach Your Summit. As the summer of 2019 is nearing its transition with the fall, thought I'd put together a quick video for you with an update highlighting some of the gear that I've been using throughout the season. As I continue to purchase new gear, test it out, depending on my goals and objectives, and multiple factors on my trips such as the location, the conditions, and time of year, my gear list is always evolving. And as you're about to see, some of this gear I've been very happy with throughout the summer. Others I ended up swapping them out. That's just something that happens. So let me get started. So the pack I've been using is the Hyperlite Mountain Gear Southwest 3400. This pack is 64 liters total with the outer pockets and the internal storage, and I have a video for this pack highlighting it a little bit more. I will put that link in the video description for this video below. But I've been very happy with this pack so far. It's held up very well. I've used it in bushwhacks up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire. I've used this on the Allegheny 100 this year in Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania. I've used it leading a lot of group trips, and I've also used it on a lot of solo excursions too. The pack is still holding up really well. There's not a lot of signs of wear and tear. In total, I have around 600 miles with this pack so far. The seams and everything are still all intact. And this has been a great pack, super comfortable. I've been really happy with the performance of it. It carries everything that I need. It's very versatile. It's extremely water resistant. I haven't had anything get wet inside of this pack. I've been out in heavy downpours. Just takes whatever the conditions are, it adapts to it and tolerates it in stride. So I've been very happy with this, and I look forward to putting a lot more mileage on this pack. The next piece of gear that I've been very happy with this summer are the Altra Lone Peak 4.0s. I have about 400 miles in these, and I've enjoyed them so much that I picked up a couple of other pairs just so I can have the same shoe for when these wear out. I used these on the Allegheny 100 this year. They got very muddied. They breathed very well. I haven't had any blisters with them. They're super comfortable. I've also used these on guided trips. I've used them up in the White Mountains, including summiting Mount Washington. And the tread, still have quite a bit of tread left. There's quite a bit of wear on the bottom sole in some spots. Same with this shoe. But they're still very comfortable. The two things that I had issues with these shoes that I addressed were the outer toe right here. This started peeling on me on both shoes. So I ended up just using some crazy glue. You can use some shoe goo. Not anything that hindered the use or performance of the shoe. It was just, kind of an eyesore. So I ended up gluing them on, and I haven't had any issues with them since. I've heard other people having a similar problem with them, but like I said, I've been very happy with these. I haven't had any major issues even with that happening. The other thing that I had noticed with these shoes is that the midsole definitely packed out after maybe 100 to 150 miles, but I still found it to be supportive enough for me and very comfortable. Other people that prefer having a really thick cushion, you might want to go with something like the Timps or a different shoe overall. But I'm very happy with these. They dry very quickly. I also used these on a backpacking trip in the sand on Sandy Neck Beach in Cape Cod recently, and I barely had any sand inside of these shoes, so They breathe very well. They don't allow a lot inside through the fabric here, and it's just a great overall shoe. I've been very happy with the Altra Lone Peak 4.0s. In conjunction with these shoes, I had also been using the Ultra Trail Gaiters. These have been holding up really well. The Velcro is still all intact, and so are the hooks. And these just clip right to the shoes. I'll show you in an image right here. And these have been great also. I've had some ticks on the outside of these, been able to find before they got into my footwear. They've also kept my feet very clean, and they helped with that sand and keeping that out of my footwear also. So we'll see how much more mileage I get with these. I'm assuming I'll get maybe another 100 to 150 miles out of these, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But once these wear out, I'll have a fresh new pair to put on and wear those down to the very end also. So the other item that I've been testing out that I've been very happy with has been the Hyperlite mountain gear Dirigo 2 tent. I have about 50 nights with this tent so far. This tent has been my go-to for almost everything throughout the summer, with the exception of a couple of trips that I took. Most recently up in the White Mountains in the Dry River Wilderness area, I preferred to use a hammock, and also on some of the Appalachian Trail this summer I used the hammock system also. But for the most part, this tent has been out with me. I don't have any performance issues with it. I haven't used any footprint. I've been very lucky at finding great campsites up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, on the Long Trail in Vermont, the Appalachian Trail, the North-South Trail. I've had a lot of great nights inside of this tent. So I used this on the Allegheny 100 for that backpacking race challenge this year. It's just been a solid tent. I also used this recently on that backpacking trip in Sandy Neck and Cape Cod on sand. It works really well with my trekking poles. I don't have any signs of wear yet. Been out in 35 mile an hour winds. This tent has barely even flinched in the winds. It did help that I had good campsite selection, but regardless, this tent still held up in that. And this tent has also kept me very dry. I've been out in really heavy downpours, and I didn't have any major issues with the tent leaking anywhere. All of the line locks and the guy line and everything is still nice and secure. Despite this being listed as a two-person tent though, I have found that I'm a lot more happy in this tent by myself with my gear. It doesn't have a lot of room for two people to move around in. And the other thing that I really liked was the ventilation with this tent. It's been very breathable. It's kept me very dry. The condensation management is great with it. And I look forward to getting many more nights out of this tent. And along with that tent, I had also been using the Ultralight stake kit by Hyperlite Mountain Gear. These are aluminum stakes. They're 8 inches long. These are solid stakes. I've been very happy with them. I haven't had any of them break yet. I haven't had to hammer too much with them, but when I do, they're durable enough to tolerate a rock or something hammering them down. Most of the time I'm able to just push these on the ground, and then when they come out of the ground, they're very easy to come out and they're very easy to clean. Now for a couple of items that I've ended up switching during the summer. So that first item is the Therm-A-Rest NeoAir Ultralight. I was very happy with the pad, and don't get me wrong, it's still a great pad. but it's one that I found I wasn't using too much. The pad was fairly comfortable, and I had it down to about 34 degrees and I slept comfortably, provided I also had a sleeping bag liner and some clothing as part of my sleep system with my quilt. But the pad was still pretty slippery, and I helped mitigate that by using some seam sealer on the bottom. But I still found that I was sliding around on top of the pad when I was laying down on it. And with some of my trips up in the White Mountains, even in the summertime, the conditions were very close to freezing, and I didn't want to have to bring all these extra pieces of gear just to stay warm and comfortable. The other thing that I was still very worried about was the thinner nylon material that they use in that pad. So the durability was something that I was focused on a little bit more rather than enjoying the experience of my trip. So I switched back to my Therm-A-Rest NeoAir X-Lite pad. Yeah, this pad is about 3.5 to 4 ounces more in weight, but I get a lot more comfort out of this. I don't have to bring as many items to stay warm at night, and I also have a more durable fabric. This is using a 30 denier nylon rather than, I believe it's a 10 or 15 that they're using for the Ultralight. A little more insulation, and this helped me in the multiple conditions that I went through during the summer. So I'll sacrifice carrying a couple of extra ounces in weight to have a more comfortable and safer, enjoyable trip and night out, or multiple nights out when I'm out backpacking. So the next item that I ended up swapping out over the summer is the Sawyer Micro. This is a great filter. I find it definitely has worked better than the Sawyer Mini. Not as great as the Sawyer Squeeze. And on the trips that I used it on, I didn't have any issues too much with it clogging until the very last trip that I took up in Vermont. I started noticing that the flow rate went a little slower. I had tried to back flush it, it still didn't do much to it. And when I got home, I was able to clean it a little bit better. But while I was out on the trip, that was not something that I enjoyed too much. So with filters, that can happen. And so I wanted to avoid that completely. So I went back to one of my old favorite tried and true methods, which was Aquamira. So whenever I was collecting from my water source, I would go up, I would pre-filter it with my buff headwear or a bandana, and then I would put the purification drops in there. I don't have to worry about this clogging. I don't have to worry about any parts failing on me or any maintenance. It's just drops, and I pour the drops in the water and it does the work. The other thing is this purifies where the filters filter, so they're filtering bacteria and protozoa. Depending on my trip location, I might also be a little more wary of viruses, and so this will kill bacteria, protozoa, and viruses. You can treat 30 gallons with this, and so I used this on the Allegheny 100 this year. I used it on a lot of backpacking trips, and also my National Trails Day backpacking trip at the beginning of June this year. So with swapping out the filter for purification drops, I didn't want to keep buying Smart Water water bottles or Life water bottles and wasting with single-use plastic. So I just took some cycling bottles that I have at home from when I'm out on my road bike or mountain bike, and I use these on my backpacking trips. They're a little bit heavier than a Smart Water bottle or a Life water bottle by about 3/4 of an ounce. That's a weight penalty I'm willing to take for many, many uses. So what I'll do on my trip is carry 2 of these. One of them will be my drinking water, and the other one will be my water that's being treated. So when I'm running low on my drinking water bottle, I'll put my treated water into this bottle, and then I'll fill up with that treatment bottle. And then when I'm running low on this again, I can take that treatment water bottle and fill it up and just keep repeating the process. And I'm able to stay properly hydrated. I can see how much water I have with the bottles. I'm more of a traditionalist, so I always like carrying bottles with me. And for the trips where 2 of these cycling bottles are not enough and my stretches between water sources is a little bit further, I'll carry a soft-sided Hydrapak 2-liter bottle. So this folds up to barely anything inside of my pack. It weighs around 2.5 ounces. If I need to carry extra water, whether I'm with a group or, like I said, if my stretches between water supplies is further, at least I'll have a couple of extra liters of water along with the 1.5 to 2 liters that I'm carrying with my cycling bottles. And that way I'm not going to find myself in a really bad position and getting dehydrated. So the last item in my Allegheny 100 gear videos for this year, I had showed and mentioned the Old Navy microgrid fleece hoodie. This is very lightweight. I was very happy with this, and I ended up using it on a couple of my training trips, but I swapped that out too. And the main reason I swapped that out was because a buddy of mine was gracious enough to pick me up a Melanzana microgrid fleece hoodie. I love this hoodie. This is great. It's very warm, very comfortable. The 2 things that this has over the Old Navy are their game changers. And those things are a cinch toggle for the hood and a pocket. It's just really nice being able to put your hands in the pocket, stay warm, carry items around if you need to at camp. So I would wear this around camp. This would also be part of my sleep system. I've used this up in the Whites. It's kept me very comfortable. I used it up in Maine. Kept me very warm and comfortable in those cooler nights and the cool mornings too. So I even used this on that backpacking trip on Cape Cod recently, and you'll see me wearing this in the morning when I'm making coffee before I head out on the hike. So stay tuned for a gear comparison video that I'm looking at putting together, highlighting this Melanzana fleece hoodie, the Old Navy hoodie, and my go-to that you all know me for, the Patagonia R1 grid fleece. So there are some of the items I've been happy with this summer, some of the items that I ended up switching out for something else, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions on any of this gear that I mentioned or went over in the video, please feel free to get in touch with me in a comment below, or you can always contact me at reachyoursummit.net. If you like this video or any of my other videos, consider subscribing. I'm always adding new content to this channel. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the trail.